Hello. I'm doing that Let's Player thing where they go in third person. That's the one. This is Create Astral, and basically, I keep seeing the devs on various YouTube Let's Plays saying that they are looking for feedback as they are about to update the pack soon. And since I have been playing it, I thought I would add to my opinions, since I play modded fairly often and have been for a while. And you know, an opinion is an opinion, I guess. So I guess the first thing. So this is where I'm on the tech tree. So the first thing is I really like the tech tree here. Some things are a bit odd. There's some of these. So the Vinery mod isn't in REI at all, which is, I believe, actually explained down here. Or somewhere. I did see it somewhere. So there's no REI stuff for any of this. So I don't really know how I did any of this because it was trial and error. So this has just kind of been here for ages. The other thing, the cooking for Blockheads, I really like this mod. That is one of my favourite ones. However, it doesn't have the mod that lets you gain hearts for more food eaten. At which point, I'm just being kelp wise, because I mean, look at the food resource. So this is just kind of sat here, and I've not really had any reason to do it, which is kind of the main reason you would do something like this. I have played a mod pack which did have the adding hearts function and not have this, and I hated it. It took so much time to do anything. So in terms of the first sort of tech line, just sort of explaining some of the inventory stuff. The inventory explanations here in the tech Reborn was really useful actually. This whole branch here, super useful. I don't think the reinforced chests mod, really quite good actually. The copper chests are nice because they're pretty cheap. The iron chests are quite expensive at first, and obviously you have to get rubber stuff sorted. The rose gold was actually a nice touch because you sort of had to figure out how you would, you had to get this mixing stuff set up, although you could cheese this with this bit. So you could basically put stuff in a melter and pump it straight in. So that actually lets you cheese only 2 alloys, I think. Bronze. I think it's bronze and so you don't need it for this one. This is very weird. Why does this require heating but this one not? But yeah, so you can cheese rose gold this way, which I quite like this because I like mod packs that let you combine multiple mods in unfortunate ways. One of my favourite modded creations ever is, I'll put an image up, is this screenshot has like 12 different mods in it, and it's for honey processing for productive bees from all the mods 7. But the first thing is obviously also Zayaro's world map is my favourite world map. It just gets the job done. Also, a fun thing about this world, there are 2 wooden mansions. This one caught fire, which is what it looks like that. Onto this quest line. I found this quest line really quite good actually. I do find the terrains interesting to put it here, because this is quite early in, also I haven't used them at all. So I think that's actually quite good to put, even though perhaps for my play style it didn't make sense. The grout recipe. This was, I can't remember, I had a bit of trouble with one of these elements. I think it was the andesite alloy, but I probably should have set up the alloy, which I've got here. And also a bonus thing with the andesite alloy, use tin, and the reason is you can get tin from this, and it's just water and seared stone. Now this questline was quite good actually. Trying to remember how putting the tinker stuff up here. If you're using iron for like the andesite alloy, just buy iron has just so much more use. The iron chest, for example, but also even now I don't have that much iron compared to copper, and I actually have like 4,000 copper. And it's compressed into save space. And actually, here's a fantastic example of one of the things I hate about these guys. You can see the hitbox here. It's not on them at all. Also, it's quite specific. The weapons mod that's in here, that sort of weapons motions and stuff, I quite like it. Normally, I use an axe when I play vanilla or vanilla combat, but I've gone for a sword here because you can see with the sort of the size of the area that it attacks, it's just so much better. I actually did use an axe for a while. So for the electrolyzer, I hated crafting these at the time. These coil blocks take so much copper. So obviously you need 8 for the electrolyzer, and each one of these is 9, and each one of those is 4, and this is, half an ingot basically. So this was a lot of copper, and I didn't have much at the time, so I just kind of hated this a lot. Although this and this crafting this board here was quite arduous because my shimmer pool is way over there, and it seemed that I used the structure compass, like the steel was a bit flaky. It seemed to suggest there was something over there, but I couldn't find it. Where was I? Oh yeah, the shimmer leg. Also the quadcopter is just fantastic really. I don't know why I've but we'll see. I do actually quite like that the quadcopter is in third person. It's a bit jarring at first, but it does actually make more sense in first person. When you turn it, it tilts. It's very, very disconcerting that you don't have that here. So my shimmer pool, where are you? There. My shimmer pool comes down under this big lake, which is real annoying. I actually dug all the way down too wide because that's the rule. I really quite. As you can see, I've taken all the amethyst. I also took all of the moonstone that was down the side. Oh, there's one here. Yeah, this is. I know there's other little smaller features that you're supposed to also be able to get them from, but I didn't know they existed. For some reason, obviously I'm in a foresty area, and for some reason they just don't spawn. It's that diamond? It is diamond. I have not noticed that before. Oh yeah. The shimmer liquid. Actually, the liquids in this pack generally behave very strangely. I don't have any blocks. I presume it's actually not the mod pack. Just is. There's a lot of liquids, and I know some mod packs let you give you like negative effects depending on the liquid you're standing in. I mean, I accidentally placed down a compressed air cell yesterday, and it didn't do anything other than knock all my torches over, which is unhelpful. Although it would be funny if you could place it in, the airless bodies and wait, that's pretty good. Can't jump into the liquid because it doesn't exist. Ferrying the shimmer over to the base was really annoying because I didn't know about these cells, which are great because you can pick up liquids like bucket, but they stack. So I actually used a toolbox and just made a lot of buckets. I mean, it worked, obviously. But it was an extra thing that you'd have to figure out otherwise. So maybe put the cells in here somewhere, because this is quite literally a bucket, right? So you just assume it's a bucket, and again, bucket here. So there's actually not really any mention of the tin cells until here, and actually the cells here, the MBT, I think it's a must with the MBT, is just bad. If you have any cell, it'll and so when with RAI, if you have the recipe in the machine it's actually used in, it works fine. But if it's not a machine or it doesn't have a recipe for it, it just backfills with all the other recipes. It makes it really hard to actually figure out the process. Luckily, one of these here, this line here talks about making steel with carbon and iron. This was actually really useful. And also, this quest gives you a block of molten diamond. It actually gave me 10. I poured it into a melter and poured out a block, and there was another diamond in there, which was a fun bonus. The bears are a nice touch. Actually, the wildlife in general is quite nice. The structure compass is quite funny because it told me that this block contained a mineshaft. So obviously I, dug all of the way down, and well, it did in a way. So I dug all the way down, actually below here even. So that's all the way down to bedrock. And obviously it was only a 3x3 hole, so it was this. And I didn't do anything, so I gave up or whatever. And then later I ended up coming through here. I always place my torches on the right hand side. So I was coming down this way into this room. There was a creep here, and I saw on my map like a square here on this room. And so I was like, oh, what's that? So I broke through this corner to find this. So it was technically correct, but I believe Minecraft structures generate from a start point, and I don't know why the start point would be here when this isn't the start point. It would be like this block or this one. So it was here, but very, very strange in general. So this here used to be all stone. Actually, this used to be 3 layers of limestone, 1 diorite, 1 calcite, and then normal diorite. This whole thing, and I just hammered the whole thing out because I know this is getting reworked. I do actually know this is getting reworked later. But if you want silver, you have to grind. Where is it? You got to wash lime dust, and you've got to grind limestone, and this takes forever. And it was actually genuinely quicker for me to like mine out 20 stacks or something. And this is again the same thing here. This was all limestone, so I do know that the silver is getting reworked, which is good because I didn't build a mining machine. I just kind of hand dug all these things. This seems mildly bugged. It seems to do weird things, but you put moon sand and gravel, I don't know. You would grind it and then wash it and put it in. So this is about 5 different temporary machines sort of shoved together. So there's a cobble gen, which then turned into a moon and cobble gen, which then had to handle basalt and moonstone and cobble. So the cobble goes in here. Sand goes out there, up and down. The clay also comes out, it just goes through the washing. This is the sort of making clay for this, to make seared stone, to make azurine and iridium, and this is a cobble gen. So this one of the complaints I see with this pack is you're just building the same machines over and over again, which is what I tried to not do, which is why this looks like this. Cobble processing, gravel processing, ore processing, azurine and iridium processing, and moon sand processing all at the same time. And I just use these as storage buffers like wires, and then the moonstone here is getting ground into gunpowder because I need the gunpowder for the lapis. I need the lapis for the circuits. I need the circuits for the advanced circuits. So there's a lot of running around, which I know you're not supposed to do. You're supposed to build a sustainable factory like that. The problem is these sort of factory lines are so complicated that it's just so much easier to, and this does double duty actually, for circuits, and it's, if I put the deployer here and then copper in there, it now is the circuit assembly line, this one. And then if I remove a deployer and put rubber in, which is what I used it for last. So yeah, these things they're just so complicated to build. I pretty much don't ever want to build them twice, so I just forever run around. I think this is a thing with create. Item movement in create is really hard to do. It's just there's a lot of extra planning you have to put into it. I had no idea that these were a thing. I actually had to downsize this when I was using like charcoal. Yeah, so a lot of these recipes have been changed. So, for example, dripstone you can make by putting calcite and water, which I just dug out like 300 calcite, I think it was. But you can make this with gravel and bone meal and lava, which I did consider doing because I actually have bone meal down here. Actually, I have more elsewhere. But there's just you can see just how this is why I built this with a gap like this, because it's just there's just so much physical space it takes up, and there's no ability to fly other than a quadcopter. So it's just really difficult to do stuff. This is why these things keep being. In fact, this foundry isn't square because I had to move this tank around, and these tanks don't maintain their volume. So moving fluids before I realised the cells stack was really hard because these didn't like retain liquid, and neither did these tanks. These hold twice as much. These hold 16 buckets, which is why I've got Shimmer and Blaze Blood here. I hated everything about this, and it ended up actually not being that necessary at all. We used the Blaze Blood to make Blaze Cake. See, this is something that I only found out like yesterday that really annoys me. If you use a Blaze Cake on a Blaze Burner, like this guy, in the stock create, it gets superheated. You know, you use fuel to make it heated, and the Blaze Cake to make it superheated. The problem is, it doesn't, like, at all. If I get this guy, it's just got, you see at the top of the timer, it takes a really long burn, but it just doesn't, it's not superheated. So what I then did here, so I made this guy a liquid one, but then if I try and put this fuel bucket in, it just crashes the game. I assume because the mechanic has been changed by the mod developers, this is something that they probably need to fix. Don't really even know what the cause of that is, but yeah, because I was trying to make steel. I'm at that point in the pack where I need to make steel, but you need superheated. Again, this is really hard to get your way around. You need superheated, and it says here a Blaze Cake, but it just doesn't. And the only other way to get superheated is to pipe fuel into a Blaze Burner, but I can't do that because it crashes. So I'm sort of stuck here at the moment. Going back to, I've gone all horribly out of order here. This first quest line was quite challenging actually. I really enjoyed sort of working through it. It explains all the mechanics very well, especially the mechanics that have changed, because there are quite a few. It actually doesn't say here that the Astral Gemstone actually isn't used, so I still have the original conduit. And this backpack mod, Cammy's wearable backpacks, very useful. Is definitely necessary for a mod like this. The problem is you can't wear the spacesuit as well, which I think sort of makes sense a little bit. This is my, and you can actually stack these in these toolboxes, which is so useful because oh yeah, these guys always end up in here. I put an oxygen thing here. I took the battery later, but they're just always in here when you come through. It's super annoying. I died twice. I had to punch my way out because the way it's designed is you jump up here and you airlock your way out. I believe these have been changed. It's about to get dark here, so we don't want to be here. They've been changed so they operate more efficiently, but so much more slowly. As in, they check for air much less often, which helps performance. But I was quite lucky. I had the portal right next to this massive chasm, so I actually got all of the. As you can see, there's quite a lot of ores I didn't get because I just didn't need them. I didn't really understand what was going with the generation at first. It was quite confusing. Obviously, all of these structures are completely custom because I have played Astral before. All the structures are completely new, which is great. See these little, I've stolen the ores, but you get lots of desh and sometimes iron in there, which is quite useful actually to get it quickly. And obviously, so I came across this pipeline, but well, okay, well this is clearly something. And this is essentially, so there's no nether in this pack, and all the nether stuff has been replaced with stuff from other planets. I hated making this, it sucked. And also, it's worth pointing out, you need a little bit of base game knowledge for this. So I happen to know that spawner range is 4 blocks. And if you didn't know that, you could easily get blazes in here. You have to bring a fuel. You have to bring. Once you've got it working, you just put blazing down here, it works fine. And so I basically just have to AFK in here, which is why I put this thing in here. The quickest way I found with this one is open the top, so the natural light would stop the spawning, and then close it. There's a lot of good loot in here, especially machine frames. These guys, you get a good number of these. Like I only had like 40 pretty quickly, and it was a good time save. It is definitely night time here. So the other thing is beds don't skip the night, which is really disconcerting. So that you find them in villages, which is how I figured out. But if you have this, and there's 2 weather. Yeah, it must be thinking it's raining or something. This structure in particular doesn't seem to spawn loot very much. Almost all the time I look in here, it's empty, which is very strange. It turns out that one of the Ostrum that spawns here is Endermites. The Endermites almost never get to me because the Endermen just beat the crap out of them. Which is great, but I don't really know why they're here. The lore isn't like fallen civilization because there are these nuclear things, and I think the lore, and these are supposed to be like, this is like coloured wool, it's supposed to be like waste dumps and stuff. I quite enjoy the lore actually. As for all these things, for applying to logistics, you need the presses, right? They only spawn in here in these meteorites, which are they're not in the overworld, only on the moon. And I got quite lucky actually. This is not that many. This is just part of 82 that nobody likes doing. So that's an Endermite there somewhere. Or was an Endermite. Also, it's a nice touch. The Moonstone burns blue. In fact, I didn't actually die over here before I knew what it was. And I actually just went to creative and flew over because if I didn't, I was just not going to play anymore. So the penalty for dying on the moon is quite severe, especially at the stage that you get there at first. Also, there's a lot of, it's a bit obvious with the fog here, but the generation's really funky with these custom things. Because it's generated there and it's sort of carved out of space. There was a point I was really needing magma cream. I can't remember what for. Oh yes, the nether grout. It actually ended up being easier to just sift basalt. Since we're talking about the ME system, the crafting here is not that bad actually. You can see, not really using all this space. Yeah, the crafting was actually not that bad at all. The power, however, I hate everything about the power in this pack. I don't know if I'm doing something wrong, or it's just not sort of telling me any of these things. So yeah, so the power is sort of covered here, but it doesn't really give you anything beyond the alternator, which is fine for a progression thing. But with Tech Reborn not really cooperating with REI very much, it's kind of hard to follow. So I spent ages with just a generator up here before I ended up actually making two of these thermal guys. Making these electrified pins takes so much power that the tiers on these machines aren't very well labelled. So this guy is actually a high tier. These are medium. I can't remember this one. And these are all low tier. The pack doesn't actually tell you much about the electricity tier system, but one of the first things you have to make is these sort of rubber coated copper cables. These things, because they're actually used to craft these batteries which you need for other recipes, and also most importantly this electrolyser block. So you're sort of immediately introduced to the copper cables, but it turns out that these are actually medium tier cables, and I had no idea, because the low tier are actually these tin ones, and you know, if you remember industrial craft, which I do, you might remember that, but pretty much no one ever used these, so I don't really know why they're really around, since you have to make these coppers anyway, and they're quite easy. So I made up these copper ones, not these gold ones, because I thought these were medium, and actually, which is why it's actually wired up like this. But by that point, I'd pulled the cables down, so I couldn't bother. As for Tech Reborn in general, this is very much an Industrial Craft 2 mod in many ways. It's definitely an interesting one. These two textures are the same, which makes picking them apart quite hard. These multi-blocks aren't actually explained in the questline at all. It just sort of tells you there are blocks. It doesn't say anywhere here this is a multi-block for either of these. In fact, I've got another machine in here which I made, the implosion compressor, and this is also a multi-block, and it's actually got quite a nice, to Tech Reborn's credit, they do actually have quite a good system to sort of tell you. You can see this multi-block, but this one is underneath. So see, when I placed it down here, I couldn't see it. And this one again, a different tier, and the icons are quite hard to see. I'm not using this one at the moment. So these are quite hard to tell what these were. I had to sort of figure out that it was talking about them here. So just like any mention of that existing in the quest book would be quite useful. There are essentially two methods of item transportation. The belt, well, three actually. There's the belts, these guys, and then of course there's applied logistics. The problem is, so applied logistics is limited as a channel system. So each device takes a channel, and this Shimmer cable, which is I find quite funny. They changed the thing. You can still see on the tooltips is Fluix. This glass cable only takes 8 devices, and while I do actually have an OMU controller, there's literally no reason to put it here because I'm just not doing it more complicated. So there's very little reason to go beyond this, because doing so is just so much more expensive than even just faffing around with belts and all these things. And these are just wooden paper. So doing anything more complicated with the and there's sort of two ways to build machines, sideways or vertically. I prefer vertically just because these are quite cheap, more so than these. But I think a really nice feature is that once you've been to a planet, you don't have to go back per se. With the Blaze spawner, you do there. But this is the Mars one, and this gets me lead and Ostrum. That is actually explained in this one, but it's in this one, which is quite hard to find actually if you're not paying that much attention. Also, you can, wash these spires into debris scraps. The thing is, you can't generate these, and this is actually a Venus biome that has been moved to Mars, which I found quite jarring. I actually haven't. Obviously, I've been having this trouble with the steel, so I haven't been able to get past Mars, or do any of the Mars level stuff because I need spacesuits to go and a rocket. But obviously I can't get steel because the burner's broken. So I'm sort of stuck here at the moment. So you can actually make Shimmer with glowing sacks and amethyst. But the problem is the quest line does actually give you budding amethyst block. Yeah, so you got a couple. But I don't really know how to harvest these. It doesn't, do I have to do it manually? And I can't move these once I place them. So it's kind of a bit of a risk to do. And then obviously you've got the glowing key. You can actually mix glowstone, or you can haunt, or do that. But this refined shimmer, I'm assuming this is further up the tech tree, because there's a couple recipes for. This is a tier stuff somewhere, so I assume you can make this. But if I click, recipe, it doesn't say. So I'm assuming this is a tier material, but again, with the blaze cake here, no real way to make it at the moment. So I just have to keep going back to the shimmer board. Also, this bear is slowly making its way into the sea. This is my attempt to build something good looking. Create mod pack players are, on average, way better builders than other mod pack players. I am not good at building. The thing with this create boiler that really wigged me out is if you want to change the size. Actually, I'll do it right now. You put tanks, right? And you see it. All the information updates. It's fine, and it dies. And I couldn't figure this out for so long. So it turns out what you have to do is disengage, come back up here. You then actually have to break these engines, then place one, then it updates, and now it's working again. And then if I remove this tank, it does it again. And this is really annoying. This took me ages to figure out that was the cause. And then once it's fixed, put the load back on. I don't know if this is a crate thing. I've never actually. The last time I played with crate was before these were added. And these aren't particularly well explained. They are mentioned. Yeah, they're mentioned here. But it doesn't really explain that you can actually do this with just a campfire and one. So if you have 4 tanks and a campfire, you can do 1 engine, and that gives you 2,000, which is quite a lot for the early game actually. So for the first line when you go to the moon, you have to do this line here. Some people seem to have managed to automate this fully. I couldn't figure out a way to do it in a way that wasn't extremely annoying, because you don't actually need this beyond the moon, because you get the that block there, and it should make proper fuel. You basically don't need that many. You only need 3 for getting to Mars, 3 for getting back. I still have some. So let's go there. There's a lot of preparation on these things. So you make these fuel cells from the distillation tower. This thing was a terrible recipe. So there's 2 extractors, and each of these is another 2 extractors, and each of these is another extractor. each structure is 4 of these, and these don't stack. I think I quite literally had my whole inventory full of them. So you can make fuel properly. I do have food. I was worried there for a sec. It's much more hazardous to do on a low distance. So on Mars, it's actually very jarring. You can only jump 2 blocks. On Mars, you actually get a lot more things. I actually built a solar panel. So on Mars you get a lot of dripstone. It was actually quite easy to see a lot of this area's been torn up. But one of the things in the caves here is you get wither skeletons, and they're very hazardous. Because you can only use soul torches on the planets, which is quite odd because they're not as bright. So I don't think you can see any. Oh no, there's. Again, very hard to see these things. So it makes exploring in the caves quite difficult. In fact, I haven't found any actual Ostrum Ore. I only got the Ostrum blocks from a couple of the structures. So you see here, these are the infernal biomes here. I do find it hilarious that you can fly on airless bodies. But that's the fun part of mods working together. See, this is the infernal biome. Yeah, you see here in the top right, infernal Venus barons, and at Astra. This is on Venus, which is quite jarring to find in here. The other thing is at night time, blazes spawn in these biomes, so it's quite dangerous to walk around. When I first sort of started playing this, no one on YouTube actually got this far, so I had no idea what to expect. This is an Ad Astra thing. These are all gravity blocks. Mars sand is a gravity block, and the generation is very weird. You can see the lead ore is pretty common. I haven't found any Ostrum at all. So yeah, you get ruined nether portal out here. It's not very useful, is it? So you can see here, this is that's a very long walkway. I'm not saying that before. So these guys are not big. There's a fun fact with these guys. These are chill, and they always get stuck here for some reason. They will freak out if you open the chest. However, in these foundry sections, you will find ancient debris, and they won't get mad if you break it. They won't get mad if you break this. These are lodestones. You can actually melt these down into netherite ingots, which is how I have 20 netherite. Don't break these, because they will get mad. And I think it's quite clever. This pack actually replaces bows. So if you can see here, this is a crossbow. It's just been renamed. So all these guys will actually shoot at you, which is a nice touch. This is a very long. This is the other section. Chests. Don't open these. Unless you'll get turned into a sponge. Bullets. This is a very odd. You see the generation here is putting floor underneath them. I think one of the other things about Mars is the generic loot. So if I was to open some of the chests here, I wouldn't actually get anything that's not already in the moon loot tables, which is quite weird, especially considering the technological difference between when you go to the moon and when you go to Mars first. So I think that's definitely something that should probably be updated. So this Piglin Village is an Ad Astra structure, But this, this Piglin Village, this I don't think is. I believe this is a custom structure. It looks very strange. Feels like it should be underground. The thing about it is because you can't wear gold armor because of the spacesuit. These guys are permanently aggressive. Now there is actually a way to avoid this with the Piglin Tome. I should probably have made one before I came here and actually tested it, but I forgot. So there's extra steps here, so the vanilla knowledge understanding doesn't quite pan over. The only thing with this quadcopter is how horrendously slow it is. I think it's actually quicker to just run, but I don't want to dodge all the mobs, so I'm going to just help it. So a lot of the time you're just sort of not doing anything if you're travelling a long distance. Yep, time to go. So I think the oxygen size of these things has been bumped up, especially in some of the later. I think the jet suit has full on double what it does in stock, and Astra, which I managed to enchant my oh dear. That's not good. That's not good. Well, those guys were quick. So it's next to this Piglin Village. You can see. I don't know what this structure is called. Some kind of temple or something. It's got a chest, and the other side has an Ostrum block, which is I've been here already. That's the only place I haven't found any Ostrum Ore at all. When you look at some of them, say sort of where, but what levels. But since those are all tech reborn ones, the Astral ones don't at all. And with the mod being funny about changing the ore generations, it's quite hard to tell. But actually, I found Galena here, particularly the Mercury one. Never found any of this in the overworld. Found the Mercury here on Mars. Yeah, it's definitely quicker to just run, but we will do that at night. I think actually sprinting uses more oxygen, but another one of those villages there. Sometimes these structures spawn inside each other. It's quite common for anything that has more than one mod for that to happen. So yeah, this is the Ostrum block. I don't really need this at all, but sometimes these can generate and actually destroy the chest, and that's really annoying when it happens. I had that with one thing. And again, you can see this is kind of generated a flat terrain, but also what I wonder if this generation has a vertical offset in its code somewhere. I know enough about game dev to know that I know nothing about game dev. That wasn't really clever. This is a structure that I haven't seen before. So oh wow, that's an elytra. This could be not very fun. At least they can't use them. Where are the chests? There's a barrel in there. I regret this. This looks like a great and very interesting structure that I would love to explore. And I'm not absolutely terrified to just die immediately. I think I shall leave now. But it took so long to get over here. Bye. And don't head back, I guess. You see here this spot here to drop down in. So, Phobos and Deimos. It's a nice touch. Ah, well, that's unfortunate. I think one of the only other things is this sort of double belt system. I see a lot of people using the weighted ejector. I find it just doesn't work, like at all. So this is crimson, I think. I need to get my stuff back. How's it go? Like that. Yeah. That's what they're doing it. Squat and zoom in and punch and stuff. Yeah, this is why I don't do let's play videos.